Welcome, everyone. Here we are.
Here we are. I'm Sam. Oh, and that's Kirsten, and she's going to introduce us right now.
Yeah. All right.
I'm gonna wait.
So we have with us today our brilliant artistic friends, Alpine and Gary, and we're going to talk a little bit. Hi, guys. Aren't we lucky to have brilliant friends? I know I'm lucky. Anyway, what we're going to talk about today is how things are hijacked, how they hijack our creative power. And we're going to talk about, you can call it the parasite class, whatever you want to call it, how they hijack our creative power and use it to create the things that they want to create. And we're also going to talk about taking it back and how we can do that. So without further ado, let's hop right into this.
Yeah, off you go, Al.
Well, okay. Well, I might as well. What it brought to my mind when you brought up this topic was The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, and more specifically, the film they made of it in 2005, which wasn't nearly as good as the book or the TV series, but it had one really, really insightful part of it where they go to the planet of the Vogons, who are this species of officious, bureaucratic, intergalactic Jobsworths. And you find out why that they evolved like this, because on their planet, anytime anyone has an idea, this kind of fly swat just jumps up from the ground and slaps them in the face. So they were wandering around the crew of the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy crew, Arthur Dent's crew, and they were wandering around this planet, Magrathea, where the Vogons evolved into this officious bureaucratic race, who basically were just all about the red tape and all about, signing it in triplicate and things. And every time anyone had an idea on this planet, they got whacked in the face by this giant fly swat. And soon, in almost no time at all, they just stopped having ideas because their nervous system was just traumatized to hell. And yeah, that's kind of, obviously it's not in the form of literal giant fly swats on Earth. It's a lot more insidious than that, but it does sort of, I thought that was a very insightful thing.
Yeah.
I agree. That really is kind of like how it is here, though. In a sense. So I'm sorry, go ahead. What were you guys going to say? Sam, Gary?
No, so I was just going to give you some, I really, really like that because it's a metaphor for the Matrix, isn't it? So they're not, like you said, the physical fly sorts, but they're like manifestations. So like if you try to move outside of the lines, and that's what bureaucracy is really, isn't it? They're containers. They're like thought containers. And if you try to move out of it, it's like, oh, hit that wall, and they corral you back into the mainstream, like the education system, the medical system, the government kind of system, we've got to go, like you said, through the red tape, like driving licenses, for instance, are just ridiculous now. I've tried to renew my driving license about 4 times, and they're like, you need to get the digital ID, and I'm like, fuck you, I'll just get rid of my car. Do you know what I mean? But so what it's actually asking us to do on the back of that is, do you do the easy thing or the hard thing? Do you acquiesce? And do you say, oh, this is really hard, and this is what they want you to do, they want to weigh you down? We were talking about the money thing, weren't we? They want you to be like poor, so you're reliant on the system. They want to take away all your power, so you've literally got to do as you're told. Or do you fight back through the form of creative imagination and new ways of doing things? Because there's always a way to circumnavigate the system. Might not be easy, might take a lot of work, might not be how you really want to do things for a while. But the thing is, at the very crux of it is, are you sovereign in your decisions? And that's the thing, isn't it? Gary, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, it's like you said, I really like the way Al described that. It's been my experience, I guess, but I think the frustrating part is before you realise that there's a parasite class or whatever, you feel that you're giving good suggestions and advice, and it's confusing as to why you're getting the fly swat. It's like, oh, doesn't anyone want to improve anything around here? Become more efficient,
So the very moment that you say that, you get a fly swat in the face.
Right, there you go. Yeah, they used to say all these things, but then when you actually come to present them, they're not interested. They're like, no, it's like it's fake, you know. So I'm forever sort of hitting my head against the wall, and I thought I would be like in jobs, and they'd want it done a certain way, and I thought, no, forget it. If I do it this way, I'll make more money for the business. That's what they're about, right? You know, and I'll show them, you know, on hard facts that I had the better idea. But they didn't care. And it's like, I thought, so I made more money. Like, no, but you didn't do what we said. And I'm like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do here. I mean, we're in business to sell stuff, right? You made more sales. Yeah, so
that really reminds me.
It's just years of that, yeah.
That just reminded me of many years ago. I guess it was about 1997. I worked in a bookshop, and I was tasked with. It was my first job after university, and I was tasked with doing a display, like a window display, and I guess because I was young and naive, I just did it to the best of my ability, out of my own creativity. I went down there was like a cellar in this bookshop where there was lots of wonderful old props and things from going back years, including crushed velvet, you know, sort of golden fringy ropes and things like that. And I get boxes and sort of drape things on and then arrange the books in a fancy way. And I spent all morning doing it like that. And then the manager came and had a look at it, and I displayed my labours proudly to the manager, who looked at it and said, "Oh, that's the best display I've ever seen. Now take it away and do it like this," and showed the corporate approved, because it was a chain. It was, you know, it was a bookstore that was a chain, and it's like, now do it like this. They've got to look like this from John O'Groats to Land's End. You know, it's like I thought you knew kind of thing.
Yeah. You know, that reminds me, Al, of something that happened to me when I was in elementary school. So we had this contest. It was a contest to make a Valentine's box. So I got really excited about it. It was like second grade. So, you know, I don't know what that is in UK, but I was probably 8 years old. And I was really excited. And I said, I'm going to make the best Valentine box ever to put, you know, for everyone to put their Valentines in. So I went home and I talked to my mom about it. And I said, I want to make a kangaroo. So she got me some chicken wire, and I shaped a kangaroo out of chicken wire, which was really difficult, you know, especially for an 8-year-old, but I did it, and I put paper mache over it. And then I painted it, you know, I painted it red with a pink belly and a pink heart on the nose. And I was really proud of it. It was almost as tall as I am, or I was at that time. I'm taller now, obviously. But so I took it to school. And I walked into the classroom, and everybody else in the class had taken a shoebox and glued some construction paper hearts to it. And I had this huge kangaroo. And I walked in, and I felt so stupid. I was just like, oh my gosh, I feel so stupid. This isn't what I was supposed to do. I was supposed to just take a shoebox. And I won first place, but I felt like, I mean, obviously she had to give me first place because I was the only one who actually put any effort into it. But I felt ashamed for doing that. And all the kids were looking at me like, you know, you're so weird. You know, why did you do this?
Do you think that was jealousy, though? Do you think that was jealousy?
Maybe. I don't know. But whatever it was, it really killed my, you know, I never went out of my way again like that as long as I was in school, because I felt ashamed of doing it.
Because you were different. That was the thing. And that goes back into like the whole, I mean, I hate saying star seeds, but you know, the people that come and they're a bit more awake, whatever you want to call them, whatever name you want to give them, because they don't fit into the books. So this is what I'm seeing predominantly, and you were very much like that, even from like being very young, and especially when you're young. You come in and you see the world with fresh eyes, and you don't fit into the boxes, and that shame is a very real thing. And it, especially in like institutions like school, they really push that because they want you to go on into boxes where you sit in you sit in cubicles, you type all day. you become a Vogon, you know, that's what they want you to do. And it's like a mental conditioning almost. But it's also kind of like, it goes back to the tribe thing. So when back in the days of old, when we were all in a tribe, we all had to fit in and we all had to kind of work together. And if you were cast out of the tribe, it meant almost certain death. So it's almost like a genetic thing as well. Like, there's been a little talk about that. I can't remember who, I think it might have been Richard Dawkins that maybe wrote about it. But it's like this inherent genetic kind of fear program that we've got, like fear of annihilation, that we have to work through, which is a really good point really to go on to, because what other areas in our lives do you think that does actually touch on? And how does it limit us? I mean, what are your thoughts on that? Kirsten and Al. Kirsten first, maybe. And I'll be to Gary afterwards, because I'm just rubbish at this.
Well, there are so many ways, because I think, you know, we all, and when we're young, we do have that instinct. Don't get me started on Richard Dawkins, because a lot to say about him that's not very nice. But anyway.
I can't wait for that one.
But the thing is, I think that the powers that be, or the powers that were, let's call them the powers that were, they play on that in so many different ways. I mean, school is a great example. Work, like Al's example of, you know, I went out of the box and I made this beautiful display, but no, we've got to put it back in, because you've got to fit in. You've got to fit in. And when you're a child, especially, even when you're young and just out of university, you don't necessarily have the capacity to say, well, maybe I need to, you know, it's like they get you when you're young and innocent, and they push you down right away. And I think it happens it happens in your family, it happens at school, it happens at work. I mean, it's just everywhere. And I think, you know, that's a really good point, Sam. What do you have to say about that, Al?
Well, yeah, I was thinking, basically, we're encouraged, just going back to the Richard Dawkins thing, we are very much encouraged, especially us people who were brought up in the 20th century, to see the world as a zero-sum game. You know, it's like you're the one with the most toys at the end wins, and you know, you're a long time dead, and I've gone on about this on Twitter, and all we are is dust in the wind, and all this kind of stuff. It's hammered to. It's like there's no, you know, there's absolutely nothing beyond the physical, and so therefore you must kind of you must pay heed to the tribal genetic things we've learned, which are important. I'm not saying they're not important, but that's where it begins and ends, because in the end of the day, you're going to be in a hole in the ground, mate. So, you know, so that's where it stops. So you just, you know, while you can play the game, you know, you've just got to have this zero-sum attitude to everything, and having a zero-sum attitude to everything doesn't really leave you with much wiggle room, unless you're one of the privileged ones who either through being in the right place at the right time, or just being, you know, just sheer force of talent, does actually manage to acquire a lot of things in the zero-sum universe. If you're not in the right place at the right time, or you're not, you know, you didn't strike lucky in the lottery of life or whatever, then what are you going to do? You know, you're just going to spend most of the time on that hamster wheel. You know, if any of you, in my sci-fi story, Quinn's abduction, there's a quite a large part of that where the people who are captive in this cage, the humans who are captive in the cage, in order to earn their food, they have to actually go on a hamster wheel, and then like food comes out of a chute, you know, and it's kind of degrading and everything, but you know, that's just a way of life they have to accept if they want to carry on living. And then they have to wrestle with the fact that, what is the point if all you're doing is being viewed at in a cage? What's the point in expending that level of effort? You know, if there's nothing to build, no castles in the sky, you know, no Jack and the Beanstalk.
Yeah.
Sorry for the rambling, but
no, we love it. Ramble away. What are your thoughts, Gary, on that? Like the whole futility of the rat race, really?
Yeah, I'll try not to go too long on that. But I suppose for me, when you are more on that creative, you're leaning into that sort of side and free thinking, and it's very difficult to, even if they're trying to put you in a box, you know, to accept that. It's, you know, you might try for a while, like, you know, you try to study at school, and but it just gets to the point where, well, none of this makes sense. It's, you know, nonsense. It's worthless, and you can't rationalize it. And then, of course, then the system then says, well, okay, because you can't rationalize it, doesn't make sense, then you're, as we would say in the UK, I don't know, you're thick, you know, right? You can't pass these exams and get these grades. You're worthless, essentially, you know. So you're like, I don't think I am, but whatever, right? You know. But, so you're constantly, for me at least, battling this thing of the world telling me I'm worthless all the time, you know. And I'm like, I don't think so, but there's this battle all the time. So when I go into the workplace, that rat race has only ever told me I'm worth the lowest that they can legally pay. That's all I can achieve. It doesn't matter what I do the job amazing, do it efficient, make more money. It always says, yeah, but you stay here. And I'm like, so then you get confused, you know, you wait for the next position to come around, you get next promotion. I mean, I noticed patterns to this eventually. I don't know, but I used to see every time a position in the past would go, you know, someone internally would be promoted or something, and every time it came round to me, it's like, oh, we have to open it up to outside. And I'm like, when I say come to me, I was the next senior guy, you know. But it didn't matter if the whole team and everyone said, promote this guy, he's the best. I mean, that still didn't matter to the system. And you're just like, what is going on here? Even if I have everyone saying yes, and I still don't get these things. So that's why then I have to just say, well, I'm out of here, right? So because it's a dead end, right? And we can look at that as in that's helping me to jump and blah blah, you know, and get to where I need to be. And in essence, I would agree with that. So. Because I was born and bred and grew up in London, and that in itself, that environment is, to me at least, after a while, was absolutely toxic, and you don't realise what all that noise and especially if you're like an antenna, it's too much, you know. So you shut down. So you go to work on the underground like a drone, you know. So on your days off, you're still sort of, why am I on this train? You know, I've gone the wrong way now because I'm so used to just robotically taking the same route, the same thing, shutting off because it's just like everyone's around you. Well, yeah, what's my pockets? There's someone there. He's a dodgy guy there, you know. I mean, it's even worse now. But so when I walked out of my London job, I didn't have that connection to the city anymore. So I was free, if you like, to relocate, which I did. But at that moment, you realise how much baggage and tension and anxiety you've been holding. You know, I mean, where I live now, you can sit in a cafe and not think some guys, you know, they watch my phone sort of thing. It's much pleasant, you know. So that energetic shift, you don't realise it when you're in it, but it's massive when you leave it. You're like, wow. It took a while to adjust and relax, you know, just get into these different frequencies, if you like, of chilling out, and that has been amazing for me. But I guess the surroundings match my frequency, if you want to call it that. Now where I'm at, it's my only other thing now, I suppose, is and I have a lot of issues with the spiritual community, if you like. I find a lot of that, it's all new to me. this stuff. It's been amazing because I finally met people like yourselves that I can discuss all this stuff with. The rest of the time, you're in work, and I just have this all football and TV and beers after work. I'm like, oh my God, is this it? I can't stand it. So I guess you just become some sort of. I can't play along with that. It's difficult for me. I have to say, no, I'm going home, thanks. Oh, boring, unsociable. Yeah, okay. So I said, well, I can't pretend to enjoy it. So I'm just going home, yeah. So
I think that's the thing, though, isn't it, Gary? Like, it's the alignment thing, and you made a really good point there. Because once you start, obviously, the moral question came from Al, like, what is the purpose of this? Because it's like, why are we doing this? It almost is, what is the meaning of life? You could reduce it back down to that, really. But the existential question, obviously. But you look at what we're doing, we're all forming these consciousness grids, to go a bit woo. And when you step off the hamster wheel and you start to open your mind, and we talked about broadening our perspectives, you meet and you find resonance with other people, and you co-create your reality, because that's what we are. We're co-creators of our own reality, and we all feed into this kind of holographic universe. That's kind of where I'm with this anyway. So when you start to look at things as in alignment or not in alignment, when you remove things, because it's almost like the test of the threshold, it's like the initiate, isn't it? You're at the threshold and you're asked to jump. It's like the Fool card in the tarot. It's a jump into the unknown. It's trusting God. It's trusting the divine, whatever you want to call it. It's source consciousness, and saying, I'm making this leap of faith, knowing that I'm going to be taken where I'm meant to go, because I'm rejecting what isn't in alignment with me. And part of that, like you were saying, is, and also going back to this kind of community base, meeting other people, because there's lots of us now. We've had waves and waves of these, we'll call them awakenings, since COVID. And there's people that's been awake a really long time. But there's like a fresh round, and it's like looking at the purpose of what we're doing. And I really believe that part of this is coming together to create new ways of doing things. And I'd really love to get your ideas on that, and how you think we can maybe pull together and look at new ways of kind of creating these conscious communities, or creating these conscious jobs, or looking at ways to feed our souls that aren't kind of ingrained in this hamster wheel. I'd love to get your thoughts first, Kirsten, on that, please.
Gosh, well, that's a huge topic. So I think I'm actually starting to see it happening around me. For instance, I had a few weeks ago, I went to a health symposium. Just out of the blue, was invited to this thing, and I met all of these people who are actually trying to make the town where I work into an alternative health community. And they were talking about bringing all of these alternative health modalities, and they have backing, they have financial backing, and they are also talking about doing a lot of barter and things of that nature. And I think the first thing we need to do, really, because a couple of things, like something that Gary touched on too, is one of the ways that they attack us and get us like in this lockstep system that they want us to be in is through the nervous system. And so all those attacks on your nervous system, and you become so inured to it that you don't even realize it's happening. It's just normal. It's your normal. And I was in that for a long time, where I'd wake up in the morning and I'd just be like, I'm not dead yet, damn it.
The nervous system remembers. Yeah, it remembers, doesn't it? Your nervous system. It's like a circuit board. It just goes round and round until it's released.
It does. And so they get you in that. So I think the first thing all of us need to do is, however we can do this, take a step back and get in touch with what's inside, and really, whatever kind of practice you can do, whether it's meditation, whether it's breath work, whether it's yoga, whether it's some other kind of movement. There are so many ways to do that. And once you start calming your nervous system and getting back to your intuition, then you can see the steps better. What do I need to do here? What do I need to do there? And I think, what we're doing right now, right here, right now, coming together and discussing this is really one of the first steps we can take to building that community and finding ways that work better for all of us. And we really need to, as a group, take our creative energy away from all of these like doom and gloom narratives. And I see Al talk about this all the time on Twitter, and I love it.
Raising the altitude of your thoughts.
Yes, that's it. Raising the altitude of your thoughts. I love that. I think first of all, we take our attention away from that. We stop putting our creative energy into creating that system that we don't want, because they can't make it without our energy. We don't need them. They need us. Ultimately, we just have to recognize that, because they don't have the creative energy to do these things without our energy. So the first thing I think is just taking it away. And that doesn't mean that you're not aware of what's going on. It just means that you're not going to pay into that. Like, oh, well, not on my timeline, dudes. I'm doing something else right now. So screw y'all. I'm putting my attention over here into the people that I vibe with. And I think that's the first step, and coming together and really talking and creating, I know the internet was created probably in a sense to hijack us as well. And yet we've managed to use it. And see, this is the other thing. And Al talks about all of this beautifully too. So we'll let him talk in a minute, because he's got, but taking that tool and saying, well, you can use this, they can use this to hijack us, but guess what? We're going to use this to come together and to make these communities. So taking those tools and turning them around, we're in the inverse world. Let's turn it back around. Let's turn it upside down. So yeah, that's where I went with that, which is
reverse the inverse. I like it.
So yeah, there it is. Reverse the inverse. Yeah. So Al, what do you think?
Well, I was just thinking about how AI needs a prompt. Without it's like it's been said many times, there's no creativity in the system, and it stifles creativity, of course. But without creativity, there's nothing there. You can wait an eternity for AI to do something, but if you don't put a prompt in the little prompt box, it's not going to do anything. It responds to our energy. It's a reflection, and so this is, to me, where raising the altitude of your thoughts comes into it a little bit, because you can imagine it like a sort of rainbow. Like it's not maybe so much of a bifurcation as a heptification. There's people who, on a certain frequency, are going to go down this kind of reality tunnel where it's all AI control, or maybe it's going to be a nuclear holocaust or something like that. And then there's maybe a slightly better frequency, and then a slightly better frequency again, until you get up to the indigo and violet frequencies, where everyone's kind of teleporting with the powers of their own minds, or I don't know what. But the point is, with raising the altitude of your thoughts, everyone's got their own particular little prompt box and their own little prompts. And I personally, when I'm confronted by these things, like what's the point of it all, and where's this leading, and no matter what I try, doesn't really seem to, I'm trying to be as creative as possible, and it's just like pissing into a bucket or whatever. And well, at the end of the day, where was I going to go with that? Oh God, I'm terrible like this. Yeah, raising the altitude of your thoughts. So it's a bit like when I apply this exercise myself, and I lament about all the restrictions that we've got, and that you can't move left, you can't move right, you're just being squeezed from all directions. That's actually exactly, I presume, although I can't actually remember it, how a baby must feel when it's being born. It is very, very restricted, and it is very squeezed in all directions, and it doesn't have any freedom of expression whatsoever. But this is a temporary, like a temporary rite of passage, literally. And after the vista of possibilities is so vast, it's going to take us several years to even develop enough to actually perceive what they are. And I mean, it's an open question as to whether we've been born yet, or whether we're actually still in the rite of passage.
That was brilliant, because we are. That's how I like to describe it. It's the birth canal, isn't it? That's what we're in. And we need the friction because it serves a purpose. That's the whole point of this. I mean, if we're going into, like you said, the bifurcation, I like my heptification was brilliant.
I like to think of it as a heptification. And where we squeeze ourselves out is all to do with our attitude and our sense of empowerment. You know, all the people who keep saying they are going to do this to us. We're just going to be bent over and have our, you know, and they're going to have their wicked way with us, and we're just going to be ever so passive about it. No, fuck off.
Exactly, and that's the thing. That's the choice, because you've all got free fucking will, and I am saying now because it's true. If we're all sovereign, and this is the test, isn't it? This is what it comes down to. We are all sovereign, and there is always a choice. You might not like the choices, but one choice leads to another. And we're all, even, you know, passivity, as we've all heard before, is a choice as well. If you choose to do nothing and then life just happens to you, that is also a choice. And it's about kind of being informed and looking forward and picking the things we want to do. And this is where creativity comes in.
Yeah, sorry to interrupt quickly. Just
the
very energy, the very fact that you've laid your boundaries and said no. Now I know there's probably going to be a few people who will say, yeah, well, you'll be swallowing your words one day when some Nazi stormtrooper has his fist up your backside or whatever. And it's like, yeah, but hang on a minute, that is not my experience. That's you would be experiencing an NPC version of me who you have manifested in your reality just so that you could have the pleasure of saying just before you have the same treatment done to you, haha, see, I told you everything was going to shit. You should have listened to me, shouldn't you? But that won't be me. I'll be somewhere in the Indigo verse or whatever, having a great time. Thank you very much.
Yeah. I mean the thing that I've come away from that is get some iron knickers, but yeah, other than that. Gary, what are your thoughts on that?
Apologies for the crudity. I just
You're fine. People are used to it. I've got a terrible potty mouth. I should probably be in prison. But go on.
I think I agree with a lot of what Al said there. I can't deny that there's a shift happening. I think that's, I don't know, I guess that sensation is keeping me around, I guess. But I must say, you know, there's also a point of exhaustion for everything we've been through. So even though I recognise, like Al said, I do believe there's some amazing times ahead that we cannot even fathom at the moment. But I am exhausted at the same time. I'm like, come on, you know, don't go when the good bits, you know, before the good bit gets you. It's kind of that is a struggle. But I wonder what you guys feel about the individual and the collective, I would say. So how much you can do as an individual and how much you need a significant proportion of the collective to really tip the tables in a significant way. Of course, like Kirsten was saying, we can, and people do in the past, I don't know, like the Amish, or we can create little enclaves and communities, but the world, is that a possibility that I mean, we talk a lot on the channel about things outside the system, you know, gold and silver, cryptos and blockchains, and to be honest, you could operate outside the system, right? There are now debit cards that you can spend in crypto, that you can have gold, so you can go and shop like you would, just tapping away, but you're actually spending gold or crypto. So you're outside the system. However, you're not totally, and this is what some of the guests we've had. We had a guy from South Africa. Again, he had his own community with their own little currency in South Africa.
Mm-hmm.
But then I said, but ultimately, you was still comparing your currency, the eagle, whatever it was, to the rand or to the pound, you know. still Bitcoin is still. I don't like Bitcoin, but anyway, but it's still its value is quoted in fiat currency. And
It's
everything,
centralised, isn't it? Because you're still
yeah.
using
So
it to access the
you're
system.
still kind of in their system, because what do you value these things against? So, like I say,
But is that part of the birth canal, though, Gary? That's what my question is to you now
yes,
from that.
I
Is that
agree.
what the part of the friction is? Because we're being shown that, aren't we? They're saying, we start with this inventive, creative idea and it sparks something. Like I was saying with the AI, we need a spark of imagination. That's what they like. It is good, basically, and not in the way that, the guy on the clouds or whatever, but creative force. It moves us forward because we're all just like living orgasms, basically. We're just living orgasms of God moving and we never stop. It's the law of motion. But what we need is things to keep us moving in different directions or with a certain force or a certain speed. And this is what it's asking us to do now. This is what the friction is. It's saying, oh, it's really contained there. We'll shoot off here, we'll shoot off there. And I really like what you were saying about the system, because it's still tied into that. But it's like, there's a guy that we know called Nick, and he talks about you can't just move away into the middle of nowhere and start these communities and expect to be okay, because you're not helping society as a whole.
No.
And it goes back into that question that you asked about, individual world versus like the collective consciousness, because we are a empathic collective species. We all feed into it. We're all co-creating the reality, and the people that we put into our reality and the experiences that we have, they do all come from within, and we find resonance there. But how do we spread that out? We've recognized as a problem. We've recognized that this isn't really what we want to do. We don't want to have a digital ID. We don't all want to be kind of shoved in these boxes. But also, is just going away and starting a community and hoping that we'll be left alone, but kind of being the ostrich, putting our head in the sand. We need to spread that. And that's the thing, like the whole premise of having this podcast was to get these ideas out, to utilize, to what's the word? To galvanize people, to bring them together, because an organized group of people is very fucking scary to a government agency, because there's lots of us, and that's why they crush us. That's why they don't want us to gather in protest. That's why they want to crush our free speech in the UK. That's why they make it, yeah. They'll put us in prison, but they'll let paedophiles out on the streets, or racist, people that stab people or whatever. I'm not going into all that, but do you know what I mean? And it's creating this anger because they kind of almost want us to rise up, but not be organised.
Psychological warfare and demoralisation tactics. Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Another thing that obviously, like I mentioned, the communities. Another traditional way that you would have been somewhat in but out of the system would be to be self-employed. That was your, not working for the man. But of course, this squeeze point that we are going through almost makes that impossible, because you remember, I know people say, oh, capitalism, and you're in an actual corporatism, I would say, more, not true free market capitalism.
The game's rigged against us, just like the algorithms. As we all know, the algorithms are not your friend.
Yeah.
And,
if you did the traditional sense of going it alone, they will just regulate and tax you out of operation. You just can't. I mean, even that they sell everything to you as a positive, when it's actually the opposite in the inversion. So even the minimum wage is like, well, you got to at least pay people this, but that now means that is almost the maximum wage, because everyone pays the same. And of course, what they do, as they keep raising that, only the corporations can afford it. Elder little businesses can't employ people; they have to get rid of people, and gradually they run out, because
it consolidates the power. That's what they want.
Says, well, of course you should pay people more. It's like, well, yeah, but so there's again, this is where we do fundamentally need a massive change. I bet. When I say this, I believe all this is in process.
There's something that we often overlook as well. We're very much encouraged to see even this situation as a zero-sum game. It's like, oh, AI's taking all the jobs. It's like, listen, the whole point of technology and machines is to actually do our work for us. So to liberate us from work. So if we're still having to pay to be here, even though all the all our Maslow needs are being being met, then someone somewhere along the chain is ripping us off, aren't they? You know, and I think that there'll be 100th. I personally believe there will be 100th monkey syndrome with that as well. People will just suddenly it'll reach a critical density, and then like a gyroscope, it'll just flip over, and people go, "Hang on a minute, we don't need to do this."
You know, I think you're right. I think you're right, and I had this yesterday. So I was talking to my elderly mother yesterday. She's 86 years old. And she was talking to me about insurance. And this is a woman who has done what she was supposed to do all her life. And she turned to me and she said, you know, I think insurance is a scam. I think they're just taking our money and they're not going to pay for stuff. And I think it's a scam. And for that to come out of my mother's mouth was huge. I mean, I've said that to her many, many times, and she's been like, she's saying it now. And I really think it is kind of like the 100th monkey. And I think the more that we can raise the altitude of our consciousness, the more that we pull everybody along with us. And even though maybe they're not up here, they're coming up to here. And I think, you know, that's really, and that was such a hopeful sign to me. I was just thrilled when she said that to me.
There are amazing tools being built. I mean, it's like Al says, this the AI. I can't claim to be any expert on the financial system, but there are so many rumblings and new developments. You know, we're going to have way more options presented to us and ways of trading and things, and we just need. And again, I believe this is happening, that we will return to some form of sound money, not just the printing machines. You know, we do need some, whether it's backed by gold or whatever, just not hot air, you know. But again, that's a battle. I could be wrong. I believe the last time they maybe tried to do this, bring us back onto, after Nixon took the US off of that system, that was the JFK type. I think he had desires to bring some of this back. So, and we know
like
what
the
happened
gold back
there.
system.
Yeah, we know what happened there, but this time, you know, Mr. Trump has dodged that so far. So
it could still be a period of us being very restricted, of course, and I think that's what we're seeing now. You know, it's unavoidable. You know, you can't just, you know, if a neonate, you know, an unborn baby was to just literally, you know, sort of, if the mother was to just disappear and the baby was to just be there in the world, it wouldn't survive, would it? You know,
that's it. That's when sometimes people say it's taking a long time. I said, well, it could happen tomorrow. But
might have already happened.
That's what I say. Yeah, I mean, you could trade outside the system. You could, but not everybody understands that yet. So
but that's the problem with anarchy, isn't it? You can all say, "Oh, we're anarchists," but it's looking at the nature of, well, we've already got this society in place, and when it crumbles, you can't just have revolution for the sake of revolution. You have to have something to take its place, even if it's just an interim measure. Evolution. Yeah. I'm liking it. But I mean, I just want to quickly touch on like the AI thing, because essentially what the value of our existence is our time and our experience and our attention. You know, if you take money out of the equation, the whole point of this technological revolution, like you were mentioning, is to free us up to be more creative, to not have to clean the toilets or dot the I's and crosses the T's of the boring stuff, you know? It's meant to be, you know, we're meant to be able to have passion projects, learn instruments, other languages, paint, all these amazing things, and evolve as a conscious society.
We've got a
and it's trying to strike that balance. Yeah, go on, sorry.
Sorry, no, I was just saying we've got front seats to that. How privileged is that? What a privilege that is. It's just, it doesn't feel like it at the time because, well, it's like any, you know, often when you're going through, you know, and also, you know, if you're in a pivotal time in history, it is chaotic, you know. Well, like they said in Game of Thrones, chaos is a ladder. You know, but a lot of people are going to be falling off it, aren't they? You know, and
hopefully not into like a target, because that would be very Game of Thrones, isn't it? Yeah.
That's a zero sum. I enjoyed it, but it's a very zero sum kind of a series, isn't it? You know, it's all iron and ashes.
Yeah.
It was more about the aesthetic, I think, than the actual.
Great.
Yeah.
I mean, great story writing. You know, I can't knock it.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to live there, though, let's be honest.
They're sort of talking about. I think Elon Musk has brought it up, and I've seen some other rich people, if you like, of what people will do when we don't have to worry about the monetary side of things. Now, I'm okay with that. You know, I've got plenty to do. Yeah, I mean, I saw. I know
Give me 500 years, I won't get bored.
It might, yeah. But I mean, I saw I know he's a bit controversial, with Andrew Tate talking about, you know, he was saying enjoy the moments when you can't afford the Rolex or something, or you're saving up for this one thing that you really want, because there's something in that, right? You know, when you can, like he's saying, I can buy anything, it's now meaningless sort of thing. What do? You know? And I thought, well, yeah, I get that when all you are is materialistic, as in you're going to run out of things to buy. Now, of course, with me, I have enough creative projects that I'd like to be free to do, and I also have loads of ideas to help others and the community. I think that's what, if you are fortunate enough to be in that sort of position where all your needs are met, then you then share it and help others.
Absolutely, yeah.
That's so. I don't think I would be bored. I'm bored now because I can't do anything.
Yeah, you can't help yourself, and you can't. I'm not talking you, obviously. I'm saying this to myself. Can't help myself, so I can't help others either.
Yeah,
you know,
I can't. Yeah,
But it's that gratitude, isn't it, in the moment? Like you were saying, gratitude for the process, because it's essentially the fire that's forging you. Because these are the skills that you get, you know, and we can be in that victim mentality and go, my life's such shit, you know, I'm really poorly, or whatever's going on. We can say, you know, this is an opportunity for me to overcome this, refine myself, and then I can put that skill to something else. Because that's all life is, isn't it? It's just a series of opportunities. And the way that you approach it determines how it turns out, essentially.
I would say this one is different. That's my key factor. It feels real.
Very visceral, isn't it?
Welcome to the real, as they say in the Matrix. Yeah.
Maybe it's my own, whatever, you know. But in the past, I haven't felt energetically supported. I felt the weight of the system that we was talking about, the oppressiveness of that. Whereas now I feel that is easing and crumbling away and doesn't have the same opposing force that it did have, the helplessness and things. So I recognise that difference, which is why at 54 or whatever, I'm giving it yet another go. You know, like, okay, let's try again and come into some sort of alignment. So that's my only thing. Like I say, when people say, "Oh, you can get into your alignment," I'm like, yeah, but every time I try to do that, alignment doesn't pay. I get pulled back off of it because
I saw something today, Gary, not to cut you off, but it was how many times do you want, if you had to fail 12 or 13 or 20 times to get to your perfect life, you'd do it, wouldn't you? It's just we don't see that. So failure isn't actually it isn't a mark of how shit we're doing. It's a mark of how many times we're trying to get to the right end, you know? That's the whole point of it.
There's certainly
but the juice has to be worth the squeeze, though, doesn't it? You know, yeah, I've had these conversations, you know, as well with myself and with others in my life, and it's like, yeah, absolutely. You know, you got it. What else is there to do apart from to just dust yourself off and keep going forward? But you know, you can't escape the fact that it's like, at some point, you know, and especially, you know, like, yeah, you feel you're not getting any younger and things, and you think sooner or later, I'm not going to be asked anymore, and I don't want to get there. I don't want it to be that, you know, that the world opens up into an absolutely fabulous kind of place of multiple opportunities and all this kind of stuff when I'm on my deathbed, you know. but maybe and then then you can
But
go
what
into
a
the
fucking
whole
journey
thing.
you've had to get there, though. Al. That's the thing. What a fucking journey.
And I'm not, I'm not one of these people who subscribes to the idea that you only get one ride anyway. So it's not, it's not the end of the world, so to speak. But
whether you want to or not, apparently, you've got to
I'm
come back again over and over. Yeah.
I don't see. Obviously, I speak to a lot of people and over the last couple of years or so, and people who have they've had way more experiences with weird things than I have, and shot into the eye of God and had a chat with this fellow or whatever, and whatever, right? And I'm like, okay, but then they're no better. When I say better off, they're no better off than I am. It's not this whole experience and all this insight and enlightenment. They're just doing the same rubbish I'm doing. I'm like, well, what's? I guess it's that come back and chop wood and all that, collect water sort of. So that's why I then like to think, well, why would I pursue this thing that doesn't really do much? But
maybe you need some magic mushrooms, Gary. They might open your mind up.
You see, I had this with a guy. He was berating me a bit, as a lot of people tend to do.
Awesome. Who was berating you?
Being negative, being self-this, the way I speak and all this. I thought, all right, whatever, mate. I can only talk the way I talk. I don't know. Right? It's just me.
What a fucking rude cunt. Sorry, go on, Gary.
Yeah, you'll use the right word.
I'd have been tempted to do a Marvin the Paranoid Android impression in answer to life. Don't talk to me about life.
Away from things. And he tells me, you seemed a bit down. I said I wasn't in a good place. And he's like, I'm microdosing mushrooms. I thought, mate, I'm raw dogging it here. I don't take nothing. Yeah, I have to just deal with this stuff. I don't sort of do things to placate it or whatever. I just deal with it. So yeah, I thought, now you admit that you can't. Yeah. So that's how I looked at it. I thought, right. So yeah, it's not so easy. You're telling me it's all easy and great, but it's not, is it? You're having to take this stuff, and I'm like, man, I'm just here, trying to.
You're being bummed dry. That's what you're telling us, Gary, aren't you? You're going to take it dry, and you're not going to fucking like it, and you're going to put up a fight. Yeah.
People have said this to me. You need some mushrooms. I'm like, well, maybe, right, but that's not my whatever. It's not my thing. But
it's the reason you take them, though. I mean, I wanted to try them for years and years and years, and I'm going to very briefly talk about that. And I've recently had a foray into the land of psychedelics, which it isn't for everybody. That's what I'm going to say. But what it does is it just unlocks the ways that you think. It's like a creative tool, and however you approach it and whatever reasons that you're taking it, it will reciprocate because it's a living being. It's the spirit of the psilocybin to get shamanic on you, and it isn't if you're using it to mask reality, it's just a crutch. If you're using it to expand the way that you're thinking, then it will open doors for you. So it isn't, I'm going to microdose, so I'm going to use it as a morphine patch to take away the pain of shit existence. It makes you look at reality in a brand new way. It makes you expand the way that you perceive it, whether that's geometric patterns or whatever, go on anyway.
When I was younger, I suppose, when I had a lot of social anxiety and everyone was just, well, that's why we drink or whatever. And I'm like, but why do I need to drink to talk to people? Why can't I just be able to do it? Why do I need things in this world, whatever, to meditate, to do this, to do that?
They're just tools and they're assurances, aren't they? Some people need a walking stick. Some people need to wear more clothes.
Are in a programming, are wounding, the things that, causes discomfort in life, because the discomfort in itself is a tool. If you are uncomfortable and you are depressed, it's not let's go to the doctor to numb out because you're avoiding the issue. There's an issue there that life is saying to you, you are uncomfortable, you have depression, you have anxiety, because there is something that isn't right that you need to look at, and it will get louder and louder and louder, and your life will get more and more uncomfortable, or you'll get poorly and you'll check out. It's that simple. and that's what it's asking us to do. And if you apply that on a macro scale to the society as large, the society has a sickness, which is why it's so uncomfortable, because it needs to be healed, and that is essentially the top and bottom of it, really.
Yeah, I agree
I
with
agree.
that, but I don't necessarily like it. It all seems
You're not meant
fundamental.
to.
I know, but that's it. But
Yeah.
well, we won't go into fundamental.
But it's fine. It's fine to be pissed off. It's fine to say, I'm not going to have a drink, because we shouldn't do, and you've got the right attitude.
No,
And
if
you're
I like
actually
it,
you're
You
actually
do.
looking
I
at stuff
haven't
and you're
felt like
yeah,
if I
go on,
liked
Kirsty.
it, I'd drink it. It's fine. But it
Yeah.
was the point of the having to. That was my thing with it.
Yeah.
It's the having to. Not that if I enjoyed it, fine. Who cares, right? But it was the having to cope. That was the issue.
Yeah.
I didn't want to be. I didn't want.
Yeah. No. That. Yeah.
Things. Yeah. I didn't want. I mean, I had another guy. I went to like self-help groups, and there'll be a guy. I'll just take these beta blocker things. I'm like, I don't want to. I get that he's like, I just want to feel good. I'm like, yeah, I get that, but why do I?
But tasting happiness is in itself a cause of unhappiness, because you're not present.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't
You're
know.
right.
Like I say, for whatever reason, it feels like in a toxic
I'm picking on
soup,
you, and
and that makes you feel uncomfortable. It's like living in the swamp, isn't it? It's like you want the water to be cleaner so you can actually breathe, and rather than just, well, it's crap in here, I'll just take some sort of medication and carry on. It's like, well, why can't it's the same in the workplace when everyone just does things. I'm like, why can't we fix it? Why do you keep just doing the same thing? Why can't we actually, people would ask me to fudge things at work. Why can't we go and actually fix it so that I don't have to keep fudging it? Right? But I mean, that's the whole. So I'm sort of in that.
Well, that leads
if work is a swamp, it's accepting the swamp for being a swamp, because the swamp is a swamp, and deciding to leave the swamp, isn't it?
Yeah, and also, but when I think about this, and I think, well, all right, then who would you be in the context of a not swamp situation? If you actually climb to the very apex of, like the outermost limits of what your heart's desire could give you in terms of a functioning universe, who would you be? How would you spend your time? Would there be any stories to tell? Would there be any stories to tell? Because no one would be listening, because everyone would be busy just like doing, what I mean? It's like, you just, would you, you'd be chopping wood and carrying water, but the perverse thing about it is that you'd be loving it.
It's not that, I think that's it. It's not that, my life's really bad. I like it, but where I am now, that's what I'm saying. But I just talk about how I feel in the past and how I get here, and I try and talk a little bit more about side of myself on like a collective. Not, I can say, well, I'm all right, Jack. If I had a few more bob dollars, there you go, Kirsten. Well, why would I would just go around doing whatever I want to do. I think Al did a great video once about this when he was walking out. And he's like, if I had more of these token things, I'd just be doing more of this. And I was like, yeah, that's it. I'll still just be doing the same, going to the tea room and having cake. But I might do it more often.
You might do it with a bit more verve, because at the end of the day, it's like, hey, I don't have to do this, so I can muck about with it a little bit.
That's it. And I might take a flashier car there. It wouldn't be that much different. It's just at the minute I can't even see friends, because I have to say, well, how much is the fuel? Just the basic. I mean, even I live on the planet where I can't come and see Al or Kirsten. Not even Samantha is in my own country. So I said, well, why am I so restricted? I live on a planet where I can't even explore it unless I have tokens. It's insane that there's things that I would never get to see or experience based on these things. So yeah, I need to be liberated from this, and that's what, like Samantha, I have taken as much action as I possibly can to alleviate that. Even, like I say, to leave some, leave stability of some sort and say, sod it, let's just take another quantum leap into the unknown. So I definitely do take tons of action, which is why I'm in a nice place where I enjoy now. I think because I feel it so much that it's changed, but it hasn't. It's deep inside. Every day I wake up, why is it the same? I'm like, I really feel that my life is completely different, but then it isn't, sort of thing. I'm like, and Casper's the same. We're like, man, what is going on? We feel it so much. We're just like, it's so in. Everything's done, but it's not here for some reason.
Groundhog Day.
Right.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Like, I see it all being developed. I see everything coming in. I'm like, wow. But here it's the same old. Yeah, it's weird. It's a very. I think we did a show, whatever, Fork in the Road and Parallel Worlds, and we've done one today, me and him, called Crossroads. This whole thing of like straddling two realities, the old one whilst the new one. I mean, the splits is getting quite. Yeah,
and it's getting more and more exhausting to actually bridge the gap, the quantum bridge the gap as well, isn't it?
Yeah,
Which is why it's exhausting. I used to effortlessly socialize in my youth, whereas now it's like, oh God, do I have to? And like after, I've been pretty much a hermit for the last 15 years, frankly. I haven't gone out much at all, which, if you'd have told me that 30 years ago, I would have scoffed. I would have gone, oh God, kill me now, But
I see tons of things. I see everything crumbling. If you want to call it 3D, I see all that crumbling away. I'm like, fantastic, Like when my 3D job goes, you can be scared about that, But I'm like, yeah, but that's what you wanted, right? You don't want to keep doing this rubbish for the rest of your life. Great.
But I've got a question to ask you, Gary. If you could do anything, this is the thing. So if money wasn't a thing and we all had an limited amount of leisure time, and there was something that was your burning passion, and I want the answers from one of you, what would you do?
Well, if you want to call it a burning passion, I don't have one burning passion. The passion is
give me all five
of
them, whatever they are, yeah.
Yeah, the passion is to be free to do as I choose. That may be.
But then what? When you're free, then what?
Well,
the point that I'm getting at with this is,
I can't sit in the armchair doing nothing because I don't. The mortgage won't get paid. But if I choose to want to do that, I'm not being allowed to. So my thing, of course, you guys see I create music. I've done things for you. I love all that creativity. I have a ton of projects that I would love to do in the community. I would redevelop properties. I want my own country estate. We make product, whatever. I have no problem imagining, like Al said, and creating in my mind. That is endless. I just can't fulfill any of it. It's very frustrating having endless creation without that energy that we need at the moment to actually do them. So I will, like I say, I think we covered it with Al, I think maybe on X, when I see just building houses and houses and houses and going over the countryside. I'm like, man, I would buy this land and I would put it in a trust for the community, and this does not get sold off unless everyone agrees, right? But I don't have the means to do that for the community, but I would love to say this stays, because they don't.
So what about grassroots politics? Because that sounds like that's where you're headed.
Well, I did dabble in that some years back. I thought that was the way until I knew that it's kind of fake,
But this is the new world, isn't it? So we're trying to find new ways to do that. Granted, we do need ways to get compensation, but even if that means taking a 9-to-5 job or even like a part-time job, so that it gives us enough of an income to be able to, meet the hierarchy of needs, to then go forward and say, well, how are we going to make change? And it's about making those connections. But once you've got a goal and you know where you're moving towards, things will open up. It's just identifying that. And that is kind of where I was moving when I asked you that question. Yeah. So you like the music and stuff, but what you actually want to do is affect real change, and you want to do it on a community level, and it starts grassroots. And this is the thing.
I think that's again was part of the channel, because whether we, whether we are comfortable with it or not, I mean, all the guests that we had on, and my thing of, I would trawl X, if you like, and I would, in some way, energetically read people, and I've had a pretty good hit rate. That I've had lots of lovely guests, right? Because I would pull them out. I'm looking for the diamonds in the rough, right? It's kind of a trauma thing that nobody picked me out. So, so I'm trying to rectify that. I will notice the people. I don't care about degrees and achievement. I will notice those little lights and sparks. Don't care how many followers someone's got, all that stuff, right? None of that means anything to me. So I'm going to pick these people out, give them a platform. And because I do believe, like I said, whether we're comfortable or not, that there are new leadership roles available for all of us that we are stepping into. And I understood that even as a hermit, if I do want to, much as I would love to disappear into obscurity and in my nice little country home, and that's it, that's probably my true desire. There is a higher calling, and I would have to face the uncomfortableness of coming on this camera, which I really don't like. But I knew that I would have to overcome that at least a bit to achieve some of the other things I would like to do. So that's the long and short of it, I suppose.
It's moving into discomfort, isn't it? Yeah, go on, Kirsten.
Yeah. I was just going to say, Gary, what I'm hearing is that you are doing it. You're doing.
I agree. Yeah,
maybe it's not.
Just a frustration that I can't do what I want quicker. That's all.
Why doesn't the universe give you decent remuneration for it?
Give me Elon Musk's money.
Right?
Do something rather than build.
Because he'd be sat in his house and he wouldn't leave it. That's why. He's just told you.
Write an invoice on a golden ticket, and then if you could just send it somewhere.
I used to say this decades ago when we had the lottery and the euro, 150 million, before all this stuff, and I used to say, why doesn't the universe, whatever, let me win this 150 million? I'll actually go and do something good with it besides, flash cars and castles, right? Give it to me and I'll do it. And now I'm sort of going up there. I said, guys, if you want something done, then you need to find the conduits like all these people, because it isn't just me, right? There's lots of beautiful souls waiting to do humanitarian projects and nice things. If we want to change this world, we need to fund heart-centered people. I'm just one guy, right? I do a little bit in my community, open a new energetic healing center, whatever, right? Create jobs for craftspeople, all this sort of stuff, bring back trade. Yeah, but there's millions of me around the world, right? That's why we're dotted around, I believe. So, but
that's the organisation aspect, isn't it? That's the thing.
You've built a quantum bridge. You're not just one guy. You are the engineer of a quantum bridge, which has brought lots of people together of like mind.
Well, that's it. I had to do something. Yeah. But I just think for me, it's a crunch point of to move forward. That's us. I don't want to call it humanitarians, but need the funds to get things moving. That's all I'm at. Rather than that's it. That's my say for the day.
Good question. What were you going to say?
I think we can all relate to that because I'm in the same boat. There's a lot of things I want to do that I can't afford to do at this point. But I was thinking about what Sam said. What would you do if you could? And really, my life wouldn't look all that much different than it does now. I would just have more, for instance, I want to build a greenhouse. I want to build a chicken coop. I want to do things like that. I want to bring people into where I live, where I have this beautiful piece of woods. I'd like to have more people around me. Like you guys, I've been a hermit for a long, long time, almost 20 years out here being a hermit. And I like being a hermit like Gary. I enjoy it, but I also feel like I really need to share it. But the thing is, I think the thing that we all need to sit with is what are we doing in this moment? And if you recognize that in this moment, I'm making the choice to do these things, whatever I can do. And maybe I don't have enough money to go visit Sam or visit Gary or visit Al. And maybe I don't have enough money to build a lovely greenhouse. And maybe I don't have enough money to remodel this dreadful bathroom in this old farmhouse. But what I do have is the ability to do this podcast. I have the ability to enjoy my life, to live in this moment, and to make the choice that's going to take me to where I want to go. And maybe I'm not going to get there right away. And I really relate to Gary's frustration. And I know Sam will know this because I've said this to her a million times. I've changed myself so much. And the outer world is exactly the fucking same. But you know, I think you get to this point,
It's not though.
It's
It's not.
It's
Right.
actually not.
See,
This
is what Sam often does to me. She'll be like, but think about this. This has happened and this has happened and this has happened. I'm like, oh yeah, okay, yeah. It's just not changing as quickly as we would like it to. And
yeah, I'm impatient after 54 years. Yeah.
Mm.
I can relate.
I mean, without a med bed, I'm running out of time. Yeah, you know.
I mean, you're making me not want to get. I'm only 39, and I feel like, you know, going for a run up a short pier now. I'm kidding.
I think it really has changed, but it's like a scab. You know, when you have a scab, it still looks really ugly and awful. In fact, it looks worse just before it looks at its worst just before it drops off, revealing nice clean skin underneath. And I think that's where we're at now. It all looks like shit, but it's a lot of healing has gone on underneath that horrible scab, and it's itching like mad because it's ready to come off.
Yeah. I agree entirely. There's loads of things I see changing around me, things creating new small businesses. It's amazing to me that that change. That of course, to do these businesses need support from the collective or the community to be able to be economically viable. This is where I go back to that. I've tried things in the past, and there was a guy in the lockdown who also tried something very similar to me. You know, I said, I had this idea, you know, and I was using him, and in the end, he couldn't do it anymore. He said, you're the only guy that buys anything. I know, because the consciousness collectively is there's just not enough to support. You don't need loads, but there's just not enough. And I remember it was, I don't know if you guys are familiar with Jason Shurker. He created a platform and a show.
Vaguely remember,
he said we've reached a point where there are enough people are willing to subscribe to support the platform. So that is a massive shift, that we can now have platforms like this because enough of the collective will pay for it, you know. And I see it, like I say, I only go to farm shops and things. And they're all expanding, they're all getting busy, and I'm like, wow, you know, this is amazing. It's happening, you know.
Yes, it is.
I just want more of it. That's it. That's what we say. What do you want? I want more of that. What's the?
But we're moving that way, and it's like what I was saying with this scab. It was such a brilliant analogy because it really is true. There's a fresh pink skin underneath. It's just seeing that, isn't it?
And it itches like mad. You're thinking, you know, like your attention is constantly drawn to it because it's still uncomfortable, you know.
You're raring to go, you know. This is it. I'm raring to go. What is the hold up here? You know,
you don't want to scratch it off before it's ready to fall off, because otherwise you set yourself back. You know.
Let's go, yeah. And then of course, you know, all the time there's this pool of, well, you know, you need to go back and just do a normal job. You're like, no, that can't be happening. So, yeah, I've made that decision. I probably got.
I think a lot of others have, though. We've all said that we can't go back in because I think once you've expanded out past those confines, we're like a souffle, aren't we? We're like a spiritual souffle. We've puffed up, and we're just not going to go back in the ramekin. We're just not going to fit.
When I say I know so many, I don't know anybody in my real life. If you go, only like online friends and things. So people on social, I see in the community that. There's so many going through what we're currently going through. I'm like, okay, so it is a collective shift, if you like. So people at our wavelength are in this in-between moment, you know. And so some
spiritual in-betweeners.
Well, yeah, sometimes there's when people are saying that they've been made redundant, and I'm like, look, it's okay. You just can't do that anymore. You know, we're all shifting out of that frequency, and I know it is uncomfortable. But I say to them that there are many of the same thing going through the same moment. So take some comfort in that. So, you know, that's
But
I
you
see
have
that as
to-
a good thing. Yeah.
we have to be that. We're going back to
Yeah.
discomforting again. You know, you either choose to move out of it, because I mean we're all aware people, aren't we, here, and we can see what's changing, we can see what we like and what we don't like, and you either choose to make the jump or you will be pushed. And 9 times out of 10, the push is so much more uncomfortable than actually moving through into something new. You know, and that's where dealing with the fear comes in, because I think that's the thing that stops a lot of people. But I do just want to circle back to what you were saying about like these grassroots communities and the farms and stuff, especially in England. There's a raw milk farm up the road.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
And it's you were on about the money. So this is the transition, you see, because we still need people that are still in the system to then feed into the alternative project. So it's like, how do we bridge that gap? That's the question.
If you're busy building a mansion and everything, you know, like, I mean, you still need to stay in a tent or a hovel until the mansion's finished and ready to move into, you know.
I've got my eye on a mansion, actually. Yeah.
That's the spirit.
I actually arranged a viewing for something I
cool.
can't afford, but it was my sort of dream home. But of course, you know,
I know you move into that space. That's raising the altitude of your thoughts.
You're right, Al. I got really.
You never know.
I did this a while back, and the agent didn't get back to me. Right? I thought, oh, you know, I tried. Then it came on the market again, actually. And I thought, right, everything's changed. It's back on the market now. Is the time, you know? So I tried to do it again, and I saw that they replied this time. I was like, man, this is it. It's happening, you know. And then it was like, oh, you know, the vendor, he says, you got to prove you've got the money before you can view it.
Before you can even view, yeah, I suppose they've limited time.
That's like,
otherwise,
blocked again, foiled again, yeah. I was ready to blag it and everything, yeah. But live like it's already happened. I was like, yeah, well, that's it, right? You know, I've got range of viewing. It'll all come in at the right time, but it's like, foiled again. Yes. So,
maybe you should just go and view it. It's like, okay,
I have done
through the middleman,
from outside.
Yeah.
It's not far. It's not far from here. It's just it's only down the road really, but it's more secluded.
But I like that, because at least because it's like, it goes back to manifesting 101. It's like thought, word, deed. And as soon as you start to speak about things, you're putting it into reality. You're speaking it out. And this is why it's really important, like, we choose what we say. But then when you actually physically do something, like, I don't know, say you want to buy this mansion and you think, you know, what I might actually do is just put an advert out and see if anybody wants to come together and we can all club together to buy this mansion, whatever. You might think, oh, it's never really going to happen. But just because you put a flyer out, what you actually think you want, which is the mansion, it might actually give you something different. It's the small steps. It's just taking small actions, and in doing that, you will be moved. You will be navigated through all these different, like, kind of alleys. Because the thing is, we're really limited in our perception, aren't we? We can only kind of see so much. But once we start moving forward, we will be presented with more and more opportunities, because, you know, we're not at the stratosphere. We're not looking down on the bigger picture. We're kind of we're in the forest. So sometimes you can't see the woods for the trees, but it's just moving through that, isn't it?
Yeah,
by
making
making more changes.
again with doing the music channel. You know, it was. I mean, I love what I've created with Casper and that, but it was like standing on my own thing. You know, it's like, here we go. This is a space for just me to share things that I work on and projects with other people. So it's that. Having that individual identity in that sense, you know, it was another step into that mode or role, whatever you want to call it, where I could. I tested the water a bit by putting some on the Quantum Bridge first. I thought, that was to encourage others to just like, look, do your creative work. You know, it's always been about encouraging other people to step into. That's what I love when I see you guys do things and Al's doing these things. Because actually, before he put his stories out, I'd already done the music a while back. I just thought, you know what, I'll do something for Al. He's a nice guy, and something Sorry for his podcast.
Magnificent what you did. Yeah, really.
Yeah, I thought I'd do something nice for his podcast because I can, right? It's something I can do. I can't support financially. I thought I can do this, right? And then he had the story thing come out because my brother does the video work, and like I said, it's all up in the air at the minute. It takes hours to do these things, and now he's got this job that he hates, and whatever. He can't always pursue what he wants to do. But yeah, I thought, well, when the story came out, I said, well, this music is great for this story that's now arrived. So that delay, if you like, was great. I thought now we have some imagery of a story that we can now create some visuals to go with that, and that's it. And then we can gift it to Al.
You did a grand job there.
Well, thank you. But it's interesting again, like how those things. I loved it when that fell into place. That thing. Look, I didn't get around to giving it to him yet, but it's better that I didn't because the story is now dropped. It's. So if I can do things like that for people, then I can. I do it. So,
but that's the energy exchange, isn't it? And you mentioned not having the money, and it's how can we build it? Because that's what these kind of like communities are. It is almost bartering. So if you can do that, then obviously there'll come a time when Al will be like, do you know what? I'm obviously guessing at this. He could be like, oh, I'm going to write you a story, or I'm going to do this, or Kirsten might. I don't know, she might write like a poem or something for you or whatever. It's utilising these skills and bringing them together to make something new, isn't it?
I feel, to be honest, this is again a frustration. I feel a time when we don't have any money. I'm beyond that energetically, right? I'm just in this bridge transition period where it's still required for humans. Energetically, I'm away from that world. I would create everything for I don't take ownership even what I put out. Only reason I need to get paid for it is to eat. If it didn't, I don't care. I'm not that protective of it. I'm like, use it, do what people want. So that's how I operate. But it doesn't quite work in this current paradigm. But I think we're denied as well. We are denied the support, probably intentionally, that we can't. It's difficult for us to support each other with what we do.
Yeah,
right?
it's frustrating.
I can't donate. I want to donate and support Al in his writing, but I can't. So things that I would like to do for others, I'm restricted from. It's again very frustrating because that's me as a person. That's who I am.
But you're reading Al's writing. We all read Al's writing. We share Al's writing. We share it with the people that we've got.
I'm really grateful for.
I'm more generous even. That I want to. I don't know how after all this time I even have any heart left for this world, right? But I do. So it's still there to give.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful, and you're doing what you can. And I think
I do what I can.
What we need to shift is our perspectives about what worth is and what you're actually providing. Because I know as a writer myself, the thing that supports me most is when people read my writing. And even though I don't get paid for it and Al doesn't get paid, the thing is, we're still doing it. And by the way, I just want to say, if you haven't checked out the Lavella, please do, because it's amazing. But anyway,
thank you so much. Thank you very much.
Because Al is a brilliant writer, and this is one of the things to circle back what we were talking about before with brilliance in this inversion. Being brilliant doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to get any remuneration financially. But I think we need to start looking beyond that. Like, what really makes me wealthy? Is it really having, that number on my bank account? Or is it having these real interactions with really amazing people? Because all of us here have really amazing things to offer. And the fact that we have found a community where we can offer that and have it seen and reciprocated in whatever way. And by the way, Gary made our intro, which I absolutely love. And we love it. But so I think we have to start looking at that. And even though it's very easy to say, well, I don't have any money and I can't do this. And I've said the same thing so many, 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 many times. So I get it. But I think part of it is pulling our perception away from that and saying, well, what do I actually have? Because as we know, money doesn't actually have any intrinsic value.
No.
The intrinsic value is already here.
You can't
It's
put a
already
price
right
on those
here.
things. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I think if we want to live in a world where we have things of intrinsic value, rather than putting all of our time and energy into getting something that's actually worthless, we need to really put our energy and perspective into what do we actually have that's actually worth something, because each of us is worth so much more. You could not, there's not enough money in the world to match the worth of any one of us. And we need to really start owning that and stepping into our sovereignty and saying, look, this is worth something. I'm worth something. Therefore, even though, I'm having to, I don't know if I'm going to be able to buy gas to go to work, but I am worthy and I have a lot of worth here. And that is, oh, hey, Don. Don's with us. So, that's.
Sorry, guys, just to say, I'm going to have to go in a couple of minutes.
Oh, yeah. Well, we probably better wrap this up. Yeah. So just to say, check out Al's work, the Livella Alpine Imagination Workshops. He is brilliant. If you haven't looked at Al, he's brilliant. And check out Gary. Gary is making some wonderful music. Yeah. He's also on the Quantum Bridge. Why don't you guys tell us where people can find you, just real quick?
Go on
now. Sorry.
Yeah.
Basically, if you want to listen to the Livella, although I will say it's one of these things where it's not just like a background kind of story. If you're not, for whatever reason, able to literally kind of really be very present with every word, you're probably not going to enjoy it very much. But if you do, then I guarantee you will. And it's called the Livella, and that's on my YouTube channel, which is Alpine's Imagination Workshop. The website is www.imagician.org, and I just want to say thank you so much to all of you, to Gary for all the work he does, and especially for my intro, to Kirsten and Samantha for inviting me on again. It's such a privilege to be invited onto your podcast, and I really hope it goes from strength to strength.
Oh, thank you. That was lovely. Good. We really appreciate you, Al, and you are, just to say, an absolutely brilliant writer.
That's very kind of you to say so.
You really are. You really are. So, Gary, tell us where we can find you.
Well, if anyone does know, obviously the Quantum Bridge is we've slowed things down a bit by now. We don't do as much now because we're trying to do things in the real rather than digital world. But there still will be things on the Quantum Bridge, just not as relentless as we were. And I'd mentioned that other YouTube channel called Quantaphonic. I sort of took the quantum bit and sort of mixed it with music, came up with Quantaphonic. And I started that channel, and there's a little X account as well. And it's just a place where I can share some of the projects I do. And again, another thing, it's like I said, if you do things, if everybody starts doing their creative stuff, it does open doorways for other people. You sort of drag them with you, sort of thing. It's that's why it's been really great to see, like you guys, like we had Kirsten on the bridge before we've done this show, and it's really good to see lots of other people doing things, their own shows, and it's really nice to see that sort of stuff. Yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
Thank you again for having me. the second time.
No, it's
You
been
are
a pleasure. And to say that you worry that you haven't got anything to say, you've got plenty to say, and you're a very educated and eloquent man. And I think one of the biggest things is really just getting over that perception that you're, the shy hobbit. Because I know it's quite difficult for you. I had the same thing. I didn't want to be on camera. It's not where I'm comfortable, let's be honest. But you make such a difference, and you've got so many gifts to offer. And it's a real privilege to have you on here, Gary. It really is, because you really are very insightful. And your music is brilliant, and our intro is just absolutely fantastic. I mean, I'm biased, but I love it.
Well, there's a lot of, I try, again, like with anything, I try not to put myself in any sort of box. So at the moment, there's people hopefully here, there's sort of genre hopping, really. People say, what kind of music you make? Whatever takes the fancy at the time. There's no sort of box. Something for everyone, hopefully. Yeah. Some people might like the sort of ballady stuff, but then you've got some sort of more heavier stuff, and a bit of mix and match. Yeah. Your little intro is on there, and ours. If people just want to see that. So, thank you.
Yeah, you're amazing, Gary, and do check Gary's music out, because it's wonderful. I mean, we are so blessed and so privileged to have such amazing, talented people on here. And so with that, do you have anything else to say, Sam?
No, just check out Al and Gary's work. Come and find us on The Metaphysical Fact. Thank you for everybody for watching or listening at home, because this has been the first proper live stream that we've done, and I think it's gone rather well, actually. So just big love to everybody, and I think that's about it, really, Kirsten.
Was it the first time you had 2 people?
It's the first time we posted like a live stream,
with 2 people rather than 1.
Well, we did a live. It's on the X. That's the first time we did it on the X. We've done it on the YouTube channel, haven't we?
Okay.
Last week, but we primarily did just videos, but we're branching out.
Yeah, I know it was more difficult, but we had 2 guests rather than 1, so you did very well.
Well, thank you. We're so grateful that you joined us, and we're grateful to all of you out there who are listening and watching. Thank you so much. We love all of you, and so with that, I think we're gonna end now.
We'll catch you on the flip side.
All right.
Thank you.